And so he first came in to see me and he was skeptical. He wasn't convinced I could help. And to tell you the truth, I didn't know if I could help either, because he had seen literally 14 or 15 mental health workers, whether they were psychologists or therapists, or he'd been to inpatient programs, outpatient programs, and he knew a lot of the tools that were out there. But he had trouble putting them into a framework and making sense of them and making sense of life. And I think he lacked, as many of the mental health workers out there do, he lacked that positive psychology side of things. So he may have been taught to turn down the volume on the negative, but no one had ever taught him how to turn up the volume on the positive and how to find significance and meaning and purpose in his life. So my first question to him was, okay, you've had these 3 serious attempts on your life, and you're still here. Why? What are you here for? Obviously, there's a reason for you to be here. What is it? And he didn't have the answer at the time. And we spent time sort of developing the answer together. And I'm really proud to say that after about 1.5 years of working with him, and now it's a couple years removed, and I do have his permission to share his story because he's just a magnanimous, wonderful individual. But he went from living at home, not having a girlfriend, not being able to hold a job because of the vomiting syndrome, to becoming a youth pastor, using his music and his story to share with young people, to let them know that, yeah, your situation is bad, but listen to where I was, and this is where I came from. And it gives you a lot of perspective to say, wow, if he can do that, then I can definitely do what I'm doing and deal with the issues that I'm dealing with. So he became a youth pastor, helped out with the church nearby, and that was very rewarding to him, and he enjoyed it. Then he continued his music and just recently got signed to a record contract with a small recording company. So he's working on his first album. So that was stellar. And then about the same time, he fell in love with a young lady, and they are soon to be engaged. And he's held a job for over 1 year. So his life has gone from all black to, I wouldn't say all white or all good or all positive, but geez, at least he can enjoy life now. He's happy most of the time. He has satisfaction with life. He's doing things he finds rewarding and fulfilling. And he has meaning in life. And the meaning he has is getting his message out there through his music to young people. And there's no better way to tap into your passion, excitement, and energy than figuring out that meaning and purpose in life. All right, so normally I'll show this guerrilla video that's developed by Daniel Simons at, I believe it's University of Illinois, that shows you that you can't always trust the information coming in through your senses, that we think our senses are infallible, and what we see is the truth. But that's not really the case. In this video, what happens is there's 2 teams of 3 passing 2 basketballs around. And you tell the audience, watch the team in white shirts pass the basketball and tell me how many times they pass it. And it's like a 20 or 30-second video. And while they're doing that, a guy in a gorilla suit walks slowly through the picture, stops in the middle, beats his chest, and then continues to walk out of the video shot. And when you ask the audience, okay, what number did you come up with? They'll say 16, 17, 18, 24. And I'll say, okay, the answer doesn't really matter, which really frustrates the perfectionists in the audience. My next question is, did you notice anything unusual in the video? And check this out, 80% of the people in the audience, in any given audience, will completely miss the guy in the gorilla suit. They're not even aware, consciously aware, that he was in the video. And so I'll run the video back and say, okay, now look at the whole video and see if you notice anything unusual. And you hear all these gasps and howls and cries and laughter, and you're like, oh my God, what? No way. And I've been accused of switching the video on the audience, like, no, you switched the video. That's a different video. And it's not true. I mean, our attention is limited in its capacity. There's only so much information that we can take in through our senses, and our senses are not always reliable. So the latest data shows that there's roughly 4 billion bits of information per second coming in through your 5 senses, and you're only consciously aware of roughly 2,000 of them. That leaves this huge, massive amount of room for interpretation based on your thoughts, your feelings, and your prior experiences. So if you're not very aware of what's going on in your head, you can completely miss stuff that's going on around you that is really, really obvious. The other thing is, when we're in an angry mood or an irritable mood, we will look for and find things that reinforce that angry mood. So we'll completely tune out things in the environment around us that could lead us to more pleasant feelings and focus on things that keep us locked in to anger. All right, so let me break the mind down in a couple different ways to help you understand this a little bit better. So there's what you are conscious of in your mind, right? Like you've got thoughts in your mind. Sometimes you're consciously aware of feelings. It's that which is in your mind which you're aware of. Then you've got this unconscious part of your mind that you're just not aware of. It's sort of the back office in the mind where things take place, and you don't have to be aware of them because you don't need to be. Things like your digestion, your heart rate, breathing. You don't need to be aware of these things for them to function. Then there's a lot more that goes on behind the scenes that I'll share with you as we go down this road. The problem is, when I was young, I used to think, I prided myself on being a smart, rational, reasonable person. And I thought I was all rational mind. I thought I was all the thinking mind, the conscious part of my mind. I thought that's all there was to me. What I found, however, is that I would do things that would result in me being embarrassed or ashamed or humiliated, and I couldn't figure out why, as a quote-unquote smart, rational person, I would do these strange acts. And if you think back in your life, probably the most embarrassing, shameful acts in your life have been when emotions were in charge of you. Anger, fear, sadness, for example. And that was the case for me. So if I was looking back and realizing, okay, so I'm not always rational. There's these things called emotions that come into play in a big way, and they're influencing my behavior and how I perceive the world as well. So with the emotions, some of the emotions that you have, you're conscious of or you're aware of. Some of the emotions you have, you're not. So you're not even aware of some of the emotions that are running through your mind and your body. The mistake we make is in thinking that we are only this conscious, rational being. Because in fact, what we're finding is that it's somewhere about 5 to 10% of us, or our mind, we're conscious of. And about 10% is rational, thinking or thoughts. The other 90% is unconscious and emotional. And so the last 10 years I've spent looking at how do we move this line so that we are more aware of what goes on in our mind. And there are ways to do that, and there are benefits to it. And I'll share those as we go along.